for now, I would like to move on to game number 2. And this game is by Mario, and we have to flip the board because Mario, you're playing with the black pieces. And it is the Sicilian. It's a close Sicilian though. Okay, rook b8 early, it's a little bit unusual, isn't it? I think usually people develop first bishop g7 and so on. I don't know if there's any immediate drawback to this move, but okay, interesting. a4, bum ba bum, knight e7, d3, castle, and now your opponent went a little bit overboard right away, just gifting your pawn, which was really nice of him. I'm sure you thanked him after the game. So now you pretty much already have a winning position. I mean, here I don't have much to comment so far. All these moves make a lot of sense. Knight f5, bishop e7, this is all great. Knight cd4 I think is also fine. Of course there are many options. I mean, you just pawn up with a beautiful position. So this has gone really well. Knight takes. Here, okay, you took with the pawn, of course, this is nice. Knight, any move is nice. C takes d4 also looks pretty tempting to get that half open c file. I think I would have liked this even a bit better because it just leaves more dynamics still in the position, you know? You have the half open c file, and later on you could push f5, e4, and so on. So because what happened in the game was that it dried a little bit up, right? That white got away. So here it's not possible to imagine the game will dry up in any way, really, because there are a lot of open files. Even if white plays c3, you'll take, and there are targets, right? So I think c takes d4 is maybe even a bit better. Takes, rook e1, bishop h6, queen e1. Okay, here I think bishop e3 would have been very strong. Knight e3 also looks very nice, but why not bishop e3 to get the knight to e3 without having exchanged? Yeah, I mean, this must be just complete. This is just game over here. This is the line you give. Okay, look at the knight. I mean, the knight is just a bit more annoying than a bishop. The bishop is also very annoying on e3, but the knight, it's just game over. We don't have to talk about it, right? I mean, the only hope for white would be to exchange it somehow, but no, this is just completely busted because the king is also weak, and yeah, you should win here sooner or later. So maybe you played knight e3 too quickly, I don't know, or maybe you misevaluated the position. Well, of course, in both cases you're doing really well, but by playing knight e3, at least white is having still a good control over the light squares. And the bishop on e3, while it is very nice here and blocking the e-file and everything, it's not doing terribly much. So white is still in the game, even though of course you pawn up and everything, but white is still in the game. And we don't want that. We want to be as forceful as possible when we have the advantage and don't give them any chance to hang around for too long, I guess. Here you play king g7. I don't think there's anything wrong with going f5 right away. Alright, let's do this one more time. f5, and then knight d2, queen d7. Okay, it's similar to the game. I'm just not sure why you play king g7. To me it seems not necessary. Okay, king g7, rook f1, f5, knight d2, queen d7, I think is also very logical. Knight c4, rook b8, takes, queen g2. Okay, here, important moment, right? Queen trade, always important moment. Do we take them off or not? You traded queens, I think you should keep them on. And it's simple, just more chances for you if the queens are on. Especially because the king is weaker. And this is, I mean, this is the main question usually you want to ask yourself when there's a queen trade offer, which king is safer? And it must be your king here. You also have an extra pawn to guard your king, right? And in the future, you'll play f4, and then probably like even another pawn will come off in front of the white king. So queen c7, queen d7 doesn't really matter, but I think you should keep the queens on. And then you could play f4. And I think this is giving you better chances, just better chances. I mean, maybe white might hold somehow, try to get a fortress somehow, but with queens on the board, there's just so much more potential, right? So yeah, more potential, and your king is safer, so that's why you should keep the queens on the board. I think in general, if there's a queen trade offer, yeah, either it's king safety or material. Obviously, if you are up material, it makes often sense to trade queens and then just to convert in the end game, because it takes away counterplay. But once again, it feels like it's connected to the king's safety, because if you're up material and your king is safe, then you might as well keep the queens on the board and checkmate your opponent. But if your king is not safe, then you want to trade queens so you can convert in the endgame without being checkmated. Queen takes, king takes. Now you play f4. Yeah, probably you should prepare rook e6 first. To not, yeah, why would you allow the knight to e4, right? This is not necessary. You have time here. a5, you always play b5, no problem. Knight takes e3 is not a threat. The rook endgame is very promising for you. You could take back with either one, probably with the rook, but either one is fine. It looks, yeah, really, really promising. So no rush here, I would say. I think here you rushed a bit with f4, because now the knight is coming to the knight is coming to e4, and there, of course, it's excellently placed. So this was not necessary to allow. Here you played an odd move, rook a8. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. Probably aimed against a5, but I mean, it would be better to play rook e6 and then do something else here. For example, play c4. So after a5, you can just go b5, and here you still have good chances to win. You can use the c file, especially as you're controlling the square. So this is still giving chances. After rook a8, you don't have many chances anymore, I think. Now it will be really tough. Okay, knight e4. Yeah, here once again you should play c4. It's probably your best shot. Yeah. And then c4. I mean, this is a bit tricky now, but here you can go rook a8, and the knight really doesn't have a good place now, because what to do, right? And not many squares left. And after knight d6, the knight will not a6 right away, but first rook c6 to take the c7 square away. And then after b3, you could play a6, and the knight is all the way on a3 now, where it's, well, really badly placed. And then you can push the pawns forward, and you still have good chances here. But yeah, c4 is already not an easy move to make. And if white doesn't take, if it takes an f4, okay, you take and play rook c8, and you have chances, right? You come in on c2, you have chances. Of course, your position has been better in the past, but at least you still have some chances. Yeah, h6, g4. Okay, a5 was also an option here, and also in the last move, but your opponent didn't want to do that. Rook a8, king f3. And yeah, I think now is your last chance. You have to play c4, because in the next move your opponent plays b3, and then I think it's just a fortress pretty much. I mean, this is all pretty well set, so I think it's just a fortress. So you need to go c4 here. Maybe you were afraid of this move, knight d6. If so, it was a matter of calculation here that this is actually winning with the 2 pawns and the bishop. This would be very nice. Just push the pawns forward and win. So white shouldn't do that. You should probably play a move like h4. Takes, rook c2, b4. And yeah, this will be still tough to win, because it's very difficult to get to the king, right? It's very safe here on f3 with the knight and everything. So, but this is your best try. Somehow, gotta make it work. I mean, I could see you win that, but won't be easy. All right, let's see what you say here. Sorry, I'm reading. All right, you agree that the knight is more powerful on e3 than the bishop. Yeah, that's. I mean, knight e3 also looked tempting, but that was just a bit better still to have a knight in the end on e3. And you're saying recapture on d4 with the c pawn was much better since the move I played was too slow. Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of taste maybe too, but just seemed to me, just felt like c takes c4 is just for the future keeps more potential. Okay, and with rook a8, you intended to prepare a6 and b5. Yeah, but just concretely it didn't really do too much. And you're saying in this variation the pawns look like my game against James Jackson from just a few days ago at the Isle of Man International. And you asked me about the game. I didn't prepare it for now because I had too many other games here to prepare for. But I might do a game analysis. Maybe. I'm quite busy at the moment, but maybe I'll get to this game because it was a really interesting game. But for now, let's stick with your game. And here, I think after rook c6, it should be a draw because here, yeah. I mean, a computer says you should go a5 here or later, but this is just to make sure you're not worse. This is not really, I mean, you're pawn up, but I don't see how you could win this position. No, I mean, you would somehow need to play g5, h5, and then penetrate along the h file. But in the meantime, white will get ready for it. So I don't see you win this. But this could be still a try somehow to get this set up. But maybe white even plays, oh yeah, white even plays h4 here. Oops. And now there's really nothing you can do. h5, g5. Or g5, h5. I mean, just for illustration, of course, white could also take. Yeah, I think that would be a draw. Okay, so you want to push, of course, understandably. But sometimes we also have to say, all right, well, before I lose this game, I should better make a draw. And here, actually, you're risking it now by going b5. And your opponent gets the advantage. b5, takes, rook ba1. Yeah, and I mean, white is really active. And like I said, this setup is already really good with knight and king. And your bishop is just a bystander here. So, tough position. And you don't really have any chances. So here you realize you cannot take because knight d6, knight d8 wins the exchange. King h7 is what you played. It's a tough position already. You should play rook e7 here. And should be still within close to equality, but of course you're fighting here. So this was not as it was intended, obviously. King h7, well, one problem is you still are not threatening to take because there's knight f6 and still, okay, maybe there's not knight f6 because you could go to h8 and then after rook a8 you can go rook c8. But yeah, king h7 feels a little bit wrong. c5, and here you should definitely try to simplify with d3 takes, bishop takes c5, when that should lead to a draw, I think. Even though, I mean, it's white who's trying for sure, but this should lead to a draw. After rook e7, you're much worse now because you're also playing without this bishop more or less, right? So he could play rook a6 and I think it's winning already, or it's pretty good at least. It's really good already. But he played rook a7. All right, and now he's winning after your next move. So you have to take, of course. Not a move one happily plays, but this is what needed to happen. Since after rook e6, this position is actually lost. But as you told me, there was a huge time scramble here. You don't have the remaining moves. And somehow white blundered. I'm still curious how exactly he blundered, because position is very safe, it seems. But, well, something, right? Some blunder. I don't know. In any case, you won the game, which is good. Yeah. An odd game. An odd game. Your opponent giving you the advantage so early, pretty much getting a winning position by move. We could say, I mean, already here you might call it a winning position, because your pawn up plus the white king is clearly weak. And then slowly but surely you're losing the threat. And in the end game you don't stop. Even when your advantage was gone already, you still kept pushing and you over pushed, and that led to the losing position. So that's a tough one psychologically to admit, oh, I gave it away, I let the advantage slip, and then to be like, okay, I need to play for a draw. So that's not easy to do, but that's what you needed to do. Otherwise, you could have lost that one. I mean, your position was, at this point, in the final position I have here, this is a lost position. Because white has an extra pawn, and he can support it with his rook, with his knight, and this is lost. So, yeah, that should better not happen. To go from a winning position to a lost one in such a manner. But that's how we learn, and fortunately for you, it still had a happy ending here. So yeah, maybe a couple of things. I mean, like we said already here, it's details. It doesn't change the evaluation of the position if you take with the c pawn. Same with if you play knight e3 or bishop e3. But we want to look at what makes it easiest to convert, right? We want to still play the moves that cause the most trouble to our opponent, and that make it more likely that he makes mistake, that makes his defensive task more difficult. So in both these cases, I think it's clear that these alternatives, like bishop e3 here or c takes d4 earlier, make it more difficult for your opponent. And then I think the last big point was the queen trade here, where trading queens just eases the pressure, alleviates the pressure, because at least white doesn't have to worry about his king anymore. In the end, it was the white king who was much safer, right? The white king suddenly with this setup was super safe. and it's your king which is more exposed because your bishop is on e3, just looking cool but not doing anything. So yeah, those are, I think, the big points here. And let me see if you have any more questions about this game. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, I knew it, but I kept pushing. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing to do, to realize, okay, I messed it up and now I have to settle. I have to settle for a draw. It's not easy. And you're saying I'm not proud of this game. Well, we all have those kind of games. And even better that you still send it in, because those are the games we learn from. And at least you still won it, right? I mean, it would have been much more painful if you just lost this game, right? After being better to winning the entire game. If you lost it, it would have been even worse. So at least you won it somehow, even though, yeah, I'm curious how you did it, but okay, this will remain behind the curtains.